I'm thrilled to be here with you this morning and to get to introduce Professor Rigobon. My name is Patrick Flynn. I'm head of sustainability at Salesforce, a proud 2012 MBA. Any 2012s? Yeah. A very proud recipient of the Sloan Sustainability Certificate. Any of those in the room?
Yeah, I know.
Some? Well, if you want to learn more, there's an event after. You can clap. Come on, Elena. Yeah, thank you. How about huge fans of the environment? We can all agree on that. Yes, thank you. One thing I love about Roberto Rigobon, he said, all you need to say is Rigobon, MIT Sloan. I don't need a long introduction. But I'm gonna disobey and go a little bit into it. Roberto Rigobon is the Society of Sloan Fellows Professor of Management and a Professor of Applied Economics at MIT Sloan. He's also a Research Associate at the National Bureau of Economic Research, a member of the Census Bureau Scientific Advisory Committee, and a visiting professor at IESA. Professor Rigobon joins us today to talk about a new economic framework called PROMISE, that when integrated across dimensions of people, relationships, organizations, markets, institutions, society, and the environment could help create a more sustainable world. Please join me in welcoming Professor Rigobon.
Oh, first, it is a great pleasure and honor to be here. I want to share with you first, given that all of you are alumni, I want to share with you like some tips that we use in classes, which we call the CHIP CRM, where CRM stands for crowd management. Is that okay? So let me give you some example. This is a way to get like a cheap applause. Like, do I have anyone from the 2002 that I had dinner yesterday? Here, can I hear you guys? Whoa! Yes, there you go. That's it. Second, do I have anyone from 2017 that took my class? Who took my class? Raise your hand. Oh, can I get a howler from all those Latinos? Ooh! Hey. We use those techniques in the business school because we have absolutely no content in the classes. But by using those techniques, people think they are learning something and having fun. I don't tell you that when you're a student here, but now you are not a student, so I can tell you. So on behalf of the Dean's Office, we need your money to continue sustaining this type. Now, in a more serious note, I just want to know if there's anyone that is 50 years alumni here, representing one. Can you stand up? We would like to actually recognize you. You see, I just did it again. And in fact, you always do it again when you said, in a more serious note, and then, so one thing that I want to do is, actually, this is my first presentation of this framework. This is something that I have been working for several years, and in fact, something very important, when I say I have been working, truly means somebody else has been working a lot, and I just take all the credit, okay? So, in this case, this is some relationship that we have developed with the Sustainability Initiative here at MIT. And so Jason J has played a very important role, and everyone that works in that group. In fact, I think they have a lunch after this, so if you want to join them, it will be, you can learn a little bit what they are doing. But part of what what led me to think about this is that I thought that we don't have a framework to put all things together. And as a macroeconomist and as an economist, I said, well, the only one possibility to put everything together is to have someone that knows nothing about everything, that's me, that is super irresponsible, that summarizes all the research of millions of pages of everybody on one single letter, that's me, okay? But after 4 years, actually, this has been a very good guiding compass for my research. And what I want to do is to share with you a little bit of that thinking. This is not complete by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's actually pretty cool. So let me just, I associate this with social well-being. And in fact, the word promise evolved through the classes. Actually, at the beginning of this, it was called ESIM, E-S-I-M. And it started to grow. As I started to talk to people, it just grew in letters. And in fact, I never read it promise. In fact, in my classes, I call it esimorp. This is a total true story. Then a German in the class, you know the Germans, they screw all our life all the time. And if you're from Europe, you know, I mean, we don't, so the German, she raises their skin and said like, why do you call it esimorp? I say like, isn't it trivial? E-S-I. I said, why don't you call it promise? I said, wow. So I shoot him, and then I take credit. Just so, but this actually came from those conversations. But the way I think about it is that these are all the dimensions that matter for sustainability. These are all the dimensions. And when people talk about sustainability, they tend to think mostly about the environment. This is way broader. You cannot have a country where the environment is being destroyed, the society doesn't work, the institution, the political systems don't work, or the markets are horrible, but the people are super happy. That looks like Brazil. That is not sustainable at all. that is doom, okay? No chance. On the other hand, if you have a country where the environment is taken care, the politics is working fantastically, you know, the markets are working, but the people are unhappy, that community, that country, that company doesn't look sustainable at all. We actually have to pay attention to all of this. And when I made that realization, I said, well, we need to actually make sure that when we think about how to construct a much better world, we pay attention to all the dimensions. When we are asking China to reduce their consumption because their impact on the environment, we have to understand that asking that from China is also asking them to reduce their standards of living. And maybe that becomes socially and politically unsustainable. So the fact that, yeah, we will protect the environment by not consuming oil, but then we will destroy the world in the sense that we will have a country in disarray. So understanding all these dimensions became my obsession. So the first thing that I did was to understand this in pieces. First, what are the principles? And if some of you have taken my class, you know that actually I go through this trying to understand what are the principles in a sense, what makes each of these dimensions sustainable. And what is very interesting is that principles are relatively simple. For example, the principles on the environment, we call these the DAYS principles, are very simple. It's the pollution that you add into the environment or into the community has to be less than what we take out. And this is the John Sterman view. This is all system dynamics. Can you see? Can you see the system? There is a reinforcing loop and all that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we all secretly love John Sterman, but not publicly. I just want to tell you. But actually the system dynamic tools is extremely good way to think about promise, indeed, because each of these have the same principles. The political support of a president, well, that's like a political capital. Every stupid tweet is political capital going out. Every good policy is political capital going in. So it's I guess, stock. The debt of a country is a stock. If we actually collect taxes, well, the stock goes down. If we run expenditures, it actually, so almost everything. For example, happiness. Happiness is a stock. So the more kids you have is like pollution in, okay? I have 3 extremely beautiful kids. When you see them, you realize that, I mean, they're smart, they're kind, they're beautiful, so you know they're not mine. But it's, and people ask me, why do you have 3? And I said, well, you know, I actually wrote a contract with them when they were 10 years old, with each of them, that they were going to give me 10% of their salary lifetime. And they said, Dad, I cannot sign that contract. I said, oh, no, of course you can sign. I said, no, I'm a minor. Yeah, okay, so your representative will sign it for you. So now I have 10% of my 3 extremely smart kids with me, and I have 3 because I want to diversify the risk. Imagine any one of them actually cares about the world and gets to an NGO. That's kind of a solar, I mean, so I lose that income source. So I try to tell them that some of them should do evil things, like, Goldman Sachs and stuff like that. that will actually make my life better. But the interesting thing is that when you go through the principles, you realize that almost all of them have this feature of a stock. And spend a lot of time trying to understand, for example, relationships and personal aspects to try to think about them as very simple principles, like pollution in, pollution out. Once I understood a little bit of the principles, the second question was about values. Because we do not necessarily all value these dimensions equally. If I ask you the question, do you value every one of them? You will answer probably yes. You care about your personal life. You care about your relationships. You care about your organizations, about the economy, about institutions, about politics, about the environment. We all care a little bit about all of them. But we don't care equally. And it's very important, then the realization that people don't have the same values is important because this is a source of conflict. So, in fact, I started classifying people between, my kids. These are actually my kids. So they are all tree huggers. This is because of my wife, I'm telling you. If it were for me, we would be burning that tree. But, they love the tree and they hug the tree, stuff like that. So they put a lot of weight on the environment, On the other hand, you have other set of individuals, like, for example, the dean's office, they mostly concentrate on personal issues. They really don't care about the environment. They are faking it. Like, for example, just thinking, oh, what class should I add to the core to make the life miserable? Okay. So they do that, okay? By the way, I want to become a dean, so you can see the resemblance. Yeah, actually my values will look mostly like this. I only care about markets. This is what an evil, this is what a typical evil economist will think. But in fact, you can see, we economists are very politically correct. We care negatively about everything else, okay? So, but once we understand about values, the second question is, unfortunately, is how we measure. Because the problem is that even though you care about something, we very, very rarely can measure everything. In fact, what I like about promise is what entails in terms of measurement in ability. So let me just be more precise. We measure relatively well the economy. We measure markets relatively well. We measure performance of companies, your performance. We measure them relatively well. But how do we measure the quality of a relationship? So when do you know that a relationship is in bad shape? Usually when it's too late, when it's broken. When do we know that a society is upset, like in my country? Well, when they are protesting in the streets. When the human rights violations are so deep, like in Venezuela, that the people are willing to step on the streets and risk their lives. Like, kids of my friends have actually lost their eyes and lives protesting on those streets. So we only measure tragedies. How do we measure, for example, the environment? When do we know we're polluting a lake? Well, when it's lost. So what happens is that the quality of measurement deteriorates as you go to the extremes. How do we detect sadness? We don't. We detect depression. So because we detect very badly, we act always too late. Because we do not measure the corporate social responsibility, because we don't measure the social responsibility, how can I provide you incentives so you take actions to take care of the communities? So because we do not measure, we mostly measure economics, then the world is organized about economic incentives. And in that sense, even though we value all the dimensions, we act on the measurements. And therefore, we act mostly on the economic measurements. And that creates part of the part of the problems that we have. In fact, incentives are aligned with measurements. So if you don't measure, it's impossible to provide an incentives, and therefore, actions will correspond to incentives and therefore to measurements. So my research said I am completely obsessed. I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm trying to think about how to change the measurement in each of these dimensions. So one of them is called the Billion Prices Project. I'm going to show you a little bit of that, and hopefully the iPad collaborates with me, and I show you that live so you can see more or less what we can do. Then another one that I have is 1,000 Big Macs indexes. This is to try to measure the demand. The Billion Prices Project is to try to measure inflation worldwide. The Big Mac index is trying to measure the demand, what is happening to demand. I'm going to show you England. Those two projects actually were with Alberto Cavallo, who was an MBA, like you guys, but he was a very confused MBA, so he decided to pursue a PhD afterwards. So I understand, yes, it was a waste of talent, I know. But then after that, we became partners in crime in this, and he has done absolutely everything on these projects. I'm working on two very big projects now. One is about measuring environment and social and political impact, and the other one is about what I call PCI, which is a Political Collaboration Index. I think that the media in the world rewards extreme views. And the reason is that the way the media is compensated is by your clicks. When you click, they get a reward. And you only click when you see something that outrages you. And that means that you click on the things that are extreme. When one politician calls the other one a Nazi, oh, let me click on that one. Oh, you're a communist, let me click on that one. So the most insulting language you can find, the more you will click. And therefore, the only politicians you know are the ones that are on the extreme. In fact, think about it. Can anyone name 10 senators of the United States? Can you name 20? Well, do you work in Congress? Yeah. I always have someone like that in the audiences. Truly, we name the guys that we voted for, and we name the guys that are the noisiest ones. We actually do not remember the people that accomplish something. We do not reward writing a law. We don't. By the way, when I have done this, so the political collaboration, what I'm trying to do is, are you willing, so given your political views, we're going to map people into political views, but second, after we do the mapping on the political views, we want to understand, are you willing to deviate from that ideology, and how far are you willing to move out of that ideology to be able to accomplish a law? And we want to rank this in the United States. First in the Senate, and then actually in the House. But then I want to do this in every language. There's no reason this can't be done in France. Although we know in France there will be both, never collaboration. That's a minor point. But in some sense, we want to actually think about and publish what is the ability of a politician to be willing to compromise, okay? We're trying to measure compromise. We're trying to measure the quality of the language that you use. The more divisive your language is, the less likely you will be to actually achieve any compromise. We did this in the past with the past data, and it was very interesting that Ted Kennedy, who was a person that very strong ideologies, extremely strong ideologies, he was the most accomplished individual in sense of being able to get a law passed and actually signed. And if we are a country and we are expecting in fact, this is true for everyone in the world. The world now is governed by populism. And it's governed by populism because it's very hard for us to produce a sentence about how we are going to produce growth. So because we don't grow, then the statements of populists are simplistic statements about a solution. They said, you are entitled to a better standard of living. But somebody took it from you. And that somebody, depends on the right or on the left, they will pick different enemies. Either foreigners, a foreign trade agreement, Polish plumbers. Polish plumbers, poor Polish. I mean, they're always blamed for everything. Anyway, so we will pick a foreigner. We will pick, the Mexicans. We will pick a foreigner. That's it. So one group picks that one. The other one picks the banking system, the pharmaceutical system. They pick a sector. They pick the rich. That is a very bad sentence for humankind. Because first states that you should do nothing to improve your standard of living. That you are not responsible of your future. That the only thing that you have to do is vote for me and I will just take it back. So it's bad on two aspects. First, of thinking that the society is all about a zero-sum game. And second, that you have no responsibility to improve the current situation. Imagine in that world right now somebody telling the citizens in the United States that we have to educate harder, that we have to work harder, that we have to actually finance education differently, that we actually have to invest more, that we have to actually make personal sacrifices. Please vote for me. You see, there are 4 members in my family. I will probably get 2 votes. In fact, I don't think I will vote for me anyway. But we want to change and make this transparent. We want to actually make sure that we can measure this in a way that we can show. I'm going to show you the other 3. I'm going to show you a little bit of Billion Prices project. I'm going to show you a little bit of the 1,000 Big Macs indexes. I'm going to show you a little bit of the OCI, which is a new indexes that we're constructing about the environmental, social impact, and also governance and ethical behavior of companies, okay? So there are actually 4 other projects that I'm actually working that are about the networks and how we create incentives in networks. My best example is that when I turned 40, I am 54. When I turned 40, the body guarantee expires at 40. So in my case, Delphine, you know about it, no? And at 60 expires again? Okay. So there are 2 expirations. Anyway, so the doctor said that I needed to reduce my consumption of pasta. But you see, and rice. And so I said, you just should shoot me now, and that's it. If you want me healthy, just kill me right away. I said, pasta? I said, what do you want? Take pasta, rice? I said, what is next? Tomato? And the guy said, yeah, but the way tomato you should reduce too. So, how much do the doctor will need to pay me so I stop doing that behavior? If I think about your personalities, think about something that you are not extremely proud about yourself, that you would like to stop. How much do I need to pay you so you stop drinking, so you stop drinking coffee or something whatever it is that you are not very proud of? How much do I have to pay you directly? It would be a boatload of money. And second, you will renegotiate. Because if I give you $100 for one day, you say, oh, one day is fine. After a week, you say, no, $100 is not enough. Truly. So the direct payment is extremely, extremely high. So solving problems of addiction, for example, and I'm thinking a lot about addictions here. Solving problems of addiction by the way economists think has 0 chance of success. 0. We will not have enough resources to actually pay people to change their behavior. But guess what happened? The doctor, she that knows me for 17 years, the bastard, by the way. Anyway, she knew that she had to talk to my wife. So she said, Gabby, I need Roberto to stop eating pasta. And my wife says, what? Wait. Will I be able to make his life totally miserable? And the doctor said, yes. So my wife says, how much I owe you? See, incentives to the network work very differently than incentives to individuals. And we have not studied that enough. So let me show you a little bit about the 1,000 Big Macs and Billion Prices. These are all the countries where we collect data. In fact, actually, we have added 2 countries. There's one country we will never collect data. I just want to let you know, Paraguay. Very important. And the reason is because the only time when Venezuela was going to classify to the World Cup, we lost the last game against Paraguay. So North Korea and Paraguay are just next to each other in the list of countries that you should never download data from them, okay? So this is if you're wondering, why Paraguay is not big? Because I hate Paraguay. Is that okay? It's a simple answer. In fact, I had 2 students that they wanted to download data from Paraguay because they were from Paraguay. And when I learned that they were from Paraguay, I just kicked them out of MIT. So what we do is we go to web pages, and in these web pages, we download thousands of data points. We download every day, not once a month, like a statistical office. The United States downloads about 88,000 items every 2 months. That's what the US does to compute the inflation rate. The French statistical office is the one that collects the most. It's about 120 to 124,000 products every month, every 2 months. Some items they collect every 2 months, like stamps and things that move prices very slowly. We have the ability in the United States to collect almost 300 million products every single day. In Japan, we collect almost 150 million products every day. In Chile, we collect 15 million every day. So we just collect an extreme amount of prices. Not only prices of goods, but prices of services. I mean, you cannot buy online haircut, okay? Unless you buy the one that I have. Oh, Martin, where's Martin? Martin, I need you. Martin, can you stand up? You see? Yeah. Martin, stand up, please. Yes, Martin and I, we get the haircut on the same place. It's an online device. But except for Martin and me, everybody else gets a haircut in a salon. But that doesn't mean that the prices cannot be found online. So a lot of the services, the prices are online, and we construct these baskets. Let me just show you a couple of them. This is how the United States inflation rate looks since 2007. It's a very similar inflation rate. So the orange line is is the index that we produce every single day. The blue line is the index that is produced by the statistical offices. They are not identical. We're changing the procedures. We're changing the data collection. And actually, my goal is to be able to change how statistical offices work in this sense. And part of this job has brought rewards in the sense that a lot of statistical offices compute now the price of the inflation rate of hotels the way we do it. We taught them. Or airline tickets. In fact, you don't go to a travel agent to make a reservation of a hotel. You go to an online store. So you don't go on to a travel agent to buy a ticket. By the way, do you go to a store to buy the TV? Well, less and less is happening. So what is happening is that actually retail industry is moving so fast. We already have the answer. And so we have been doing this for almost 12 years now. And part of our goal is to help the statistical offices. We provide data to certain statistical offices. They tell me we want these retailers, we just give them the retailers. This project was 100% financed by MIT, 100%. This was a freak of a project. It was impossible to finance. When I started asking people, I want to measure the inflation rate, they said, why? I said, well, because I think I can do it better. Do we need it better? I said, yes. We should measure ourselves better. Why not? Well, I'm sorry, not interested. But then when I was trying to do this in academia, it was impossible to finance because I am an economist, and this actually is a computer science project that happens to have, by accident, an implication to economics. And by the way, I'm doing something that is super non-sexy. Can you imagine? I am measuring inflation. Can you imagine that as a pickup line? Imagine the people that work for me. They go to a bar and they said, yes, I work on measuring inflation. Can I tell you your inflation rate, babe? Poor guy. In fact, everybody that works with me is single and no hope of ever getting married. And I have no personal life, nor will they ever get one. So you see, this was impossible for the National Science Foundation to see it. It was impossible for people in the private sector to see it. It was a typical MIT project. This was financed by the extremely generous contribution of people exactly like you, like your husband. Like your husband, and thank you for that. It is people like that that actually made this possible. So we were able to construct these thousands of computers. There was a time in which I actually owned 3/4 of the computing power of the Sloan School. In fact, people could not send emails without asking permission. And it was really good because everyone that was saying something bad about me, if you think the NSA had information, I had even better, okay? So, but then actually, we were able to expand this dramatically. We actually started with Argentina. I want to show you. You see there's a difference between the orange and the blue line. In Argentina, the difference is just slightly smaller. But the very interesting aspect about Argentina is that once they changed, when the new government started in last year, and they started to collect a new inflation rate, a new index, isn't it remarkable that they just nailed the price? Exactly. Isn't that impressive? So this is, by the way, I don't know if everybody can see, but this is an 750% inflation rate. I remember a reporter from Argentina. He calls me and said, is there a discrepancy between the official data, the blue line, and your data? I said, oh, only one digit. And the guy said, only one digit? Yeah, only one. I said, what do you mean only one? Well, the official data is 150. Ours is 750. Actually, the reporter didn't laugh, by the way. Yes, yeah. At that moment in time, Argentina had lost even the sense of humor. Anyway, so this is just the recent data, the last year. Actually, June, today is the first time we actually have 1 year inflation rate in Argentina, the new inflation rate. One observation we have now in the official data. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about the 1,000 Big Mac indexes. We actually, this is something that I am doing for the World Bank at the United Nations, and what we're trying to understand is what is the relative prices between two countries, to try to understand when London is too expensive, for example, relative to New York. And the best known index is called the Big Mac Index from The Economist. Does anyone know that index? Raise your hand. Oh, excellent. So, now, the World Bank hates that. Because the World Bank, actually, the World Bank and the United Nations, they manage this consortium of 105 statistical offices. They produce one data point every 5 years. They work like hell, and actually, it's like the Big Mac Index. So they work like crazy, and they always tell the economists, how can you summarize the whole economy by the relative price of one thing that is just 3 pieces of bread and 2 things that look like meat, but they are not? So, because they were fighting with each other, I said, I need to intervene, because I had friends that they were fighting with each other, former students. I said, I need them to get together and work together. So they need a common enemy. So I started to say that both were completely incorrect. So let me just show you what we do. So instead of taking the critique of the Big Mac is it's only one item. So, but you know, I have millions of items, so we can start matching items. So the same shirt from Zara in 2 places, the same jacket from H&M, the same shoes from Nike, the same tomato, the same bottle of water, the same bottle of wine from France. So it's a French wine sold in England and the same French wine sold in the United States. So let me just show you. This is something that I was very, very involved. So this is me just before the accident, okay? So, yes. I used to be really, 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 really good looking, like Zoolander, okay? Yeah, but so what we do is we go to the web pages, and something that happens on those web pages is that there's a product number, there's a product code, and that product code, let me just stop this, it's just killing me. Yes, my kids are calling me. So that product code is something that we are sure that actually that store is selling the exact same item. And what we do is we compute the ratio between the two. That gives me 164. So implicitly, this is how much Zara thinks is the exchange rate implied on the jeans jacket. Is that clear? And I can do that for, then I go to H&M, okay? And this was Martin before the accident as well. This is when Martin and I used to actually model. So this is our pictures on the jacket. This will give you a different relative price. Then what we do is we take all the jackets together, and then we take all the TVs. Now, it's not all the TVs, just TVs. This will be Sony TV, LCD, 4K, between 60 and 70 inches, smart. That's how specific we are. So we match item by item, then we group them in categories, then we actually construct an index, and now we know what is the relative price. How expensive is the UK to the US, or vice versa. We do this for 8 countries. So Why is this interesting? Because when I compare the prices, I can look at macroeconomic events. The prices in the UK, imagine I'm comparing UK to the US. The prices in the UK can go up in SATA for two reasons. Three reasons. One, taxes, but we control for taxes, so that's gone. Second reason could be that there's a devaluation, and therefore the cost of the jacket goes up, and therefore they increase that in the UK. Is that clear? Or the other one is that the demand in the UK is, let's say, stronger than the US. So strong that they find it profitable to increase the prices, or vice versa. So let me just show you actually the UK after Brexit. So the purple line is what happens in a financial market. That's the devaluation of the pound. Going down means devaluation. The blue line is what our retailers were doing. Going down means prices in the UK go up. Is that clear? Now, these are about 50,000 items. So at the beginning, when there was a devaluation, nothing happened to the retailers. The retailers did not increase their prices. And at the beginning, I said, well, this is the summer. The summer, you don't tend to increase prices, so that's fine. But then comes September, and you see, in September, like in the world, it's not like Game of Thrones. Winter does come. Is that okay? So when they say winter is coming, actually, it shows up, okay? So in the fall, it's a time in Europe, actually in September, between September and October, there's about 5 weeks, when almost all the retailers in Europe change their prices. And in fact, in England, they were changing their prices. However, they were not changing their prices fast enough or not high enough. And you can see that started to be flat. By October, I am going to England and saying, my friends, the only explanation, and by the way, no changes in taxes. So the only explanation is that your demand is so weak that the retailers have found very difficult for them to increase the prices. And they were telling me, no. By the way, my dad is Argentinian, and they know that, so they said, that's because you have Argentinian blood and you hate the British. I said, no. I mean, look at this. This is concerning. Then in October, Theresa May says, we are actually invoking Article 50. There's a further devaluation. Retailers do not respond. And I said, this should be a sign of panic mode, my friend. Panic mode. And they were not responding. So then I said, by the way, both officers and a statistical officer, they were showing me this data. These are retail sales per month. And they said, well, we have actually a very good retail sales. August is always goes down because it's the summer. But as you can see, this looks like a very healthy economy. And they were saying it's going up by 1 or 2% per month. So why should I care? You are so negative. You are so Latino. Clearly, you are trying to look into the bad things. England will prosper, okay? So then I said, well, what about your consumer confidence? By the way, the UK is the only country on earth where consumer confidence is actually negative. But that's a minor point, okay? It has been going down for such a long time. Actually, the index is negative, but that's a minor point. But just look at the tendency. It's very difficult to understand why, but it's just... but actually, the consumer confidence of November started to show a deterioration. By the way, that's not announced in November. That was announced in December. So I was on the first week of December in the UK, and I said, my friends, winter is not coming, but bad news are coming. And in fact, in that December, I was in the UK, and there was a huge scandal about Toblerone. Toblerone tried to increase the prices. Does anyone know the Toblerone scandal? Toblerone Gate. Raise your hand. Oh, I have some that know the Toblerone Gate. That is beautiful. So actually, I'm going to show you. These guys don't know. They didn't ask a Latino. We would have never done it that way. Is that okay? This is really, really stupid. So the guy said, if I cannot increase the price of Toblerone, let's change the distance between the triangles so I will have less triangles. That's a no, my friend. You will never do that. Because how do you eat Toblerone? One for you, one for me. One for you? Where's the one for me? I mean, you notice that there's one less triangle. The way we do it in Russia or Latin, in all the emerging markets, the ones that are really screw their customers, we just change the thickness. Same number of triangles, just a little bit less thick. That's the way. In fact, that was invented by the French. See, the price of a baguette in France has been €1 for the last 250 years. So before the euro was invented, they knew the price of the baguette was €1. And if you have inflation rate of bread in France, they burn the store. Okay? So how do you do inflation? You just shrink the bread. And that's how the croissant was invented. So in December, I told them, my friend, bad news are coming. And guess what happened in January, February, and March? Started to become extremely negative. In fact, even the newspaper started to documenting. And I just want to point out two things on that newspaper article, April 10. April 10. We measure the economy with such an incredible delay and so badly that we notice something 6 months later. By the way, I also want to point out that Rachel Weisz says that my parents were refugees. Brexit feels like a death, okay? It's also important on that news. Anyway, so, but I think we can do much better. And if we can do much better on the areas that we measure properly, can you imagine how much we can do on the things that we measure badly? Let me just show you a little bit about the objective contingent indexes. This is about the environment. Right now in the environment, we're trying to measure corporate social responsibility. And with this, I'm going to finish so I get some questions, okay? So we actually are trying to measure, for example, let's say, the use of child labor. But truly, the way we measure that right now is that we just measure when you have a scandal. There's a 0-1. So when we measure about the impact on the environment, we don't measure the impact on the environment. We just measure if you had a tragedy. We don't measure the morale in the labor force. We measure when they go out in a stampede. It's too late. So there's also an issue about how we aggregate that. And in fact, we call this, a project within this, we call it the Aggregate Confusion Lab. Because truly, right now, we have about 200 companies that are trying to produce ratings and rankings. But the problem is that we, United States, we love competition. Like, I am number 4. Like, see, the social impact, the environmental impact, the ethical impact is not about a ranking. If this is about a ranking, then implicitly we're saying that it is okay to pollute a little bit more the environment if we use less child labor. It's not okay. So therefore, when we actually get all this data into one single index, we're making these dimensions as trade-offs. And when you do a ranking, then we're creating a trade-off. One way to improve is to make everybody else worse, which is more or less the way I did in school, okay? So one way to actually get good in school was to steal the books from the library. So, which, by the way, I honestly did. I'm not very proud, but I actually did it. It was very successful. So in this process of ranking, first, we are hiding tremendous amount of information and heterogeneity that will be very valuable. But then the second aspect that we're hiding is that those procedures will produce errors. So let me just show you more or less what happens. These are the exact same companies from the S&P, rated by these are the two most respected corporate social responsibility offices. So what I am doing is, I am giving you every dot is a company. The x-axis is where in the ranking, the rating on company B, and then the rating on company A. This should be, if we were measuring the same thing, this should be a straight line. Furthermore, let me do this in a more depressing fashion, okay? Let's assume that I divide the rankings in 5%. And the 20 is the bottom 5%, the 1 is the top 5%. So in other words, can you see the column number 19 and 3? That's our two companies that for one rating, they are in the bottom 10, and for the other one are on the top 15. Do you think that we're a little bit confused? That means that if you are an investor, or you are actually trying to evaluate the impact of your actions, if you use rating A, you might look great. But if you use rating B, you look actually horrible. There's only 10% correlation between these two. 10% correlation. We need to solve this. And part of the problem of that, so the first thing that we're doing actually, we're getting actually the contributions right now to do that, is that truly what we want to do is to measure attributes. But we don't measure attributes properly. We create raw measures or imperfect measures of those attributes. And the first problem is that each of these companies have what we call measurement error. In other words, how do you measure child labor is a complicated thing. By the way, how do you measure gender is a complicated thing. So what is the gender? What is the gender? By the way, we will have different definitions of gender. So the question is that we already have a disagreement of what we would like to measure. So the first problem that we have is that we have a problem of measurement. Then the second one is that these different companies actually have a problem of information set. They use different attributes. They emphasize different attributes. And then the third is that they actually, when they aggregate their index, they have differences in procedures. So the first thing that we're trying to do is to disentangle what are the sources of this confusion and this disagreement. That's what we're doing so far. Let me stop there, and let me say a couple of things. What we have been doing, and by the way, the way I work is very simple. I ask Alberto Cavallo, and he does all the job, no? And then I ask Julian Kerbel and Jason J, which is there in the back. So they do all the work. And the PCI, there are people from the Media Lab, and they do all the work. So you might wonder, like, what do I do? Well, I do the toughest part of that job. I take 100% of the credit. It's very difficult, I'm trying to explain you, because sometimes, you know, I have to deal with all the money I get, and and then all the fame and reputation. It's very difficult. And then, you know, I have, Lady Gaga calling me all the time. And she says, Roberto, I have 100 million reasons why you should walk away. And I said, but baby, I just need one good one to stay. And then my private conversation becomes a song. You understand the burden that I have? Okay? When Taylor Swift is harassing me, I said, suck it up, suck it up. And she did not understand because of the accent, so she just doesn't. Life is complicated, Mimi. No. But truly, the way every one of these projects, every one of those 8 projects that I just showed you, have been, somehow are exactly MIT mentality. All of them are multidisciplinary, where we put psychologists, computer scientists. We always need an economist because I always say that they need me anyway. But we put multiple disciplines. We try to tackle difficult problems. We're extremely ambitious on the problems that we want to tackle. And we are very happy with very humble outcomes. We can contribute a little bit. It will make I am happy, at least. I am very happy if we can do that. And I want to be able to change the measurement of all the dimensions. We will be able to make a much better decision in the future if we have better measurements. Now, we cannot wait until that happens to change. So my final message is kind of a challenge to you. Do not act on what we measure. Don't wait for us to measure. We will measure. I can promise you that. I can give you my guarantee that I will not stop working until we measure life better. And every aspect, from the personal to the GDP. I'm working on computing daily GDP in Chile. Daily, not quarterly, and not quarterly an estimate, daily GDP. I do have the data to do that. I need the permit. So I need the authorization. But we will compute daily GDP in Chile. So we can change every aspect of life because technology is allowing us to gather data in a way that we have never been able to gather. And the question is how we can harness that data to produce better statistics for all of us. But do not wait until the measurement changes, because the world needs you to act before that. Please think about what are your values in this framework. How do you care? How much do you care about each of them? And then make sure that you act according to that. and that you actually enforce that on others, that your organizations understand that we need to trade labor respectfully, that we actually have to have fulfilling lives, fulfilling jobs, that we need to understand the respect institutions, that we need to work on the markets, that we have a responsibility politically and socially to our communities. And this is not about money. It's not even close about money. It's about being there. It's like parenting. Parenting is not about money. It's about being there, commitment, support. So we need more of that, and we cannot wait until I measure the happiness of my kids and the number of smiles that my presence is going to produce 10 years from now to decide, oh, I should actually devote 1 hour to my kids. We cannot wait until that. In fact, it's not even clear that this is going to be successful. We will try, but my challenge to you is please, please, act based on your values, not on your incentives, okay? Thank you so much. I think let me check if we have time for questions. Yeah, we do have time for questions. Yeah. Anyway, question. Inachos, go ahead. Hey. No, I'm going to hit the lady.
All right. So,
Next to your face.
5 years ago in our reunion, I asked you about attribution in relation to the Billion Prize project. And I'm glad you're making some progress with the attribution now.
Yeah, I'm not that fast.
Okay.
It was your idea. No.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So the question is the following. There's two questions really. I see that now you're expanding past, the whole inflation measurement thing to measure the other stuff that you discussed. And so when you have this example of inflation, which you have advanced a lot more in terms of measurement, have you been able to use attribution in a way that's going to be useful, that is useful, has been useful, so that's to imply that once you're done measuring all the other good stuff, that we're going to be able to actually do something with those measurements?
Like normal human beings can do something? Oh, yeah. So,
well, also
yeah,
as a matter of policy, because inflation has been such
let me show you.
Yeah.
We do, there's two things. Oh, you can see this. There's two things that we do. Things in places where there are, for example, problems with the quality of the data or the veracity of the data, like Argentina and Venezuela. We actually publish the data for free. It's called the Billion Prizes Project. Let me show you the inflation rate of Venezuela. And the way we collect this, there are no web pages in Venezuela. Oops, crap. Sorry, let me see. Okay, I'm here. Okay, good. So the way we actually, by the way, this is in Spanish because I don't know, in Venezuela they tend to speak Spanish, okay? And there are other more developed nations in Latin America, like Chile, where there are two types of Chileans, the ones that speak Spanish and the ones that also speak Spanish, so they also speak English. But in Venezuela, we don't have the also part, okay? So the way we collect this is actually by tweets and by pictures. So we ask people to go with phones and take pictures on the supermarkets, on the products, because there's no way of collecting the data. And we are designing this, for example, for Africa. And part of what we are trying to do is to understand how we can compute the inflation rate there. The second way they do this is by tweets. They do private tweets. I have a Twitter account, and they send tweets to my account. And the reason why we do that is to protect the people collecting the data. We have had several individuals that actually have been put in jail because they were taking pictures. Now, once you do that, the question is how, the inflation rate in Venezuela the last month is 40%, just to let you know. But how do we use that? Well, the way, this is the United States. Let me just show you the recent data on the United States. The way we use that is that these indexes now, actually, there's a private company, and we distribute this to the financial system and to the central bankers. And I don't know if you can see, let me just put more years. Wait a second, years. Let me just show you that. I hope it doesn't kick me. If it kicks me, it's going to appear Argentina. There you go. That's Argentina. Oh, you say. No. Let me just. This is what I said if they collaborate. I'm going to fire some computer scientists in a second. Okay. This is the United States. What I want you to see on the United States is that the inflation rate online, the orange one, tends to move earlier. See how we start inflation rate to go up earlier than the official statistics? Then we move down, then the official statistics. We start to move up 2 or 3 months before, and this happens consistently. So, does this improve the central bank of the Federal Reserve? Absolutely. They can see the inflation rate coming 3 months before. And this is actually not only for the United States. This is, we have a small list of countries, And yes, let's go out the UK. So you can see the UK. And so they are not identical. But here you can you see how the index is flattening out? That's your recession. And that means that the inflation rate will show up. And that actually the central bank can make better decisions. So what we are part of the dissemination purpose is that when we show this to the authorities, they complement, they are going to react based on the blue line. Is that clear? The blue line is what moves the markets, what moves $160 trillion. The US dollar moves about $60 trillion and pounds on the pound. So the blue line is what the central banks are going to target. But if the orange lines allows them to see things before, then our authorities will be able to make a much better decision. And in fact, one aspect that I do is that everybody wants to get the data exactly on the same time. So when the central bank gets the data, the private sector gets the data the same day. There's no advantage, no disadvantage, and it's total transparency. That's kind of what we do. Yeah, Stuart wants to see Australia forward, probably. No, Stuart?
No, how are you monetizing it?
Sorry?
How are you monetizing this?
How I'm monetizing this? Well, there's 2 ways. One, at the beginning, I was selling my body. But apparently, I'm not that good looking, so nobody was buying. But I try. I'm telling you, I try a lot. It didn't work. I mean, you had the same problems, Stuart, no? No. But no, actually, no, we distribute. So part of what we do is we distribute this through the financial system. There's a bank, State Street Bank, and they get the exclusivity to distribute this to the private sector. But a central bank, so my commitment to them is, there are 2 commitments very important. If there's a tragedy in a country, I can actually provide whatever I want to the country. That's part of the agreement. So for example, when Argentina stopped producing data, I didn't even have to call State Street. I said, I am providing the data, period. I have that pejorative. But what we do with central banks is parallel to what or statistical offices, for example, we arrange that. So my goal is to help that. But in order to continue financing this project, we need to actually sell. And the way we monetize is by distributing this to State Street. That's it. But for example, the one on the environment and the one on the political is going to be entirely financed by Alumni, by you. It's going to be absolutely financed by, because I want the political collaboration index or the political compromise index to be absolutely transparent. And what we want to do with the environment, and we want to measure, if I find a better measure of child labor, don't you want to see it? Would you want to see it? I want you to see it. So that one, the financing of that relies entirely, 100%, on people exactly like you. So when you give money to the dean, actually, some of that is used here. No, actually, a lot of that is used. Last question. Yes, on the back.
So I work at care.com.
You work at what?
Care.com.
Care.com.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
So it connects. Hi everyone. It connects families to caregivers, and the estimates is that about $1 trillion worth of unpaid work is done in the U.S. every year. So my question to you is, and I think only Sweden is a country that actually measures GDP in 2 ways. One is with care labor in it and without.
Yeah.
So how do you, I mean, you're talking about child labor, but in this case, what are your thoughts on putting new or unpaid work into GDP? How do you measure that?
Yeah.
And that's from a financial perspective, but then to the values, right? We're talking about
Yeah.
women going back to work. We're talking
Yeah.
about the sandwich generation.
Yeah, and
What
or
are-
discrimination in the labor market.
And immigrants, so we have a home pay to help families pay caregivers over the table. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you put that into your project?
No, it is it's in the O. In the O is organizations, jobs, and jobs. So the part of the organizations is the quality of the job, and then, for example, unpaid, so for example, discrimination in the labor market will be on the S because it's a social issue. So they are there. And in fact, I'm working very hard on trying to change the way we measure labor market conditions, every aspect of labor market. You understand that the way we measure unemployment is the same way Hammurabi did it in Mesopotamia 4,000 years ago. Is that okay? I mean, you understand how depressing that is? When the Mesopotamians learned how to count, they said, okay, let's count who is busy. Are you busy? Okay. And we continue asking the same question. Are you busy? We don't ask the important question. Are you busy? Do you want to change your job? Does your job sucks? You see, because yes, the unemployment rate in the United States is going down. Are our workers happier? So part of what you're talking about taking care of your kids and then care is a reflection. About 1/3 of the young individuals between 25 and 35 that have left the labor force of the United States have gone back to their homes to take care of a sick parent. These are people at their prime, and because we're failing to provide good healthcare system, they need to go back to their homes. Furthermore, if you find a person that comes to you to ask for a job, and the person has spent 6 years at home doing nothing, what is the likelihood that that person will be hired again? So it's not only the GDP loss on the act, but it's the GDP loss permanently by the discrimination we have in the labor market. This is one of the areas that I'm working the hardest. The problem is that I have not found the student to do the whole work. By the way, there is a very important restriction to work for me. You have to be good looking, okay? So I need a smart and good looking and motivated person. You know, in MIT, we don't have them anyway. I'm joking, all of them are here. Anyway, thank you so much for your time.